What's up, Legal Eagles? It's your boy, the OG GM, coming to you live at 8:30 in the morning on this, the 3rd day of June, 2023. It's about 64 degrees and a sunny, amazingly beautiful day out my window here at Site B. And we're looking at pictures of baby animals, which could only mean one thing. We're going to do something that's very exhausting. And I'm showing you the pictures of baby animals to help you relax before we begin it. Which means it's probably time to look at the third version of the ORC from Paizo. That's right. Paizo has released the third and final version of the ORC for us to peruse. They have released both a normal version and a red line version. And as far as I know, this is the first time anybody in the gaming industry has done a red line version of a legal document. What's that mean? They've underlined things and added explanations and definitions for things that were a little less than 100%. You know what they say, anybody who loves the law should never see it made. Unfortunately, by redlining it, they made it impossible to read unless you have a microscope. So we cannot read the red line version because I can't see it. It's too small. And the red line, yeah, so I understand why they did it. I appreciate why they did it. I assume if I printed this out, it'd be legible. But looking on the computer, nope. So we just got to go with the normal version of the ORC. The questions we, of course, are most concerned with is viral upstream, which I explained in the previous video, viral downstream, which I explained in the previous video, the censorship clause, and the ownership clause. Those were the things that really got us going, please define what you mean by this. So hopefully that is cleared. The rest of it is probably going to be the same as it was before, but we still, I think at the end of the day, have questions that it may never be answered. So is it the ORC going to do what we wanted it to do? I don't know. I suppose it depends what we wanted it to do. We just wanted, we have to go back to, January, whenever this started, and go, okay, this is the license, and this is what we want to do with the license. And this is what Wizards of the Coast is trying to take away. And somehow in trying to make it better, you made it worse, which is why so many companies went, wait, no, I'm just going to do it myself. But so far, I don't know who's been successful other than Level Up 5e. And the only reason why Level Up 5e from Eon Publishing has been successful is they somehow made it all through January without causing any controversy. They were just like, look, we already got a product. We're just going to keep supporting that product. This didn't bother us before. It's not going to bother us now. So, yeah, Wizards of the Coast, we already have our thing set up. All right, so let's take a look. But before we take a look, of course, baby animals. Oh, the mummies. Oh, my God, they're so cute. Why are baby mammals so cute? Oh, duckies. All right. What is the ORC in plain English? The ORC license provides a way for game creators to openly share the mechanics of their games and allow for downstream users to freely use. What does that mean? Modify and reshare adaptations of the game mechanics. So we don't have a direct explanation for viral downstream or downstream humors, but what we think it means based upon the definition of viral marketing, which sounds like they're using incorrectly, is bam, here's my product. Bam, you, guy watching this, buys my product and then downstreams it to your product, does something with it, changes it, and then puts it back out in the stream. So we got my product here at the top of the stream. We got your product here. The next part of the stream is the stream keeps spreading downstream and keeps getting diluted from my original product. Maybe? I don't know. Sounds like what they're saying. I can't believe I beat Tanker to this. Ha, Tanker! Which is openly shared. What is openly shared under the ORC is known as licensed material that includes the broad functional elements of the game, such as stat blocks, game rules, character attributes, and the methods and systems inherent in playing the game, as well as anything else the licensor explicitly wants to share. My rules. Here are my rules. I'm using, Wretched to make Wretched Vigilantes. So I'm making a supplement for Wretched Vigilante, for the Wretched role-playing game. The core rules at the top of the stream is the Wretched rule set. The first jump going down the stream is my Wretched Vigilantes. The license is broad and lets you use licensed material globally in connection with printed books, video games, podcasts, AI, and other technology that may exist or be created in the future. What is not sheltered under the ORC is known as reserve material, includes trademarks, beholder, world lore, story arcs, distinctive characteristics, and visual art. So this is the reason why Paizo is changing the lore regarding Dro, because Wizards of the Coast holds the copyright to the lore. But Paizo, they don't hold the copyright to the word. Okay, the word Dro, Drow, whatever you pronounce it, is not theirs. This very specific lore is. Drizzt is copyright. Dark Elves are not. If a creator wants to share his reserve material under C, they can do that, but they need to make an express declaration in their ORC notice. Otherwise, it remains their exclusive property. So what is this referring to? This is referring to the weird thing about the copyright in the 5e SRD, as we last saw it, where they make a whole thing about what Wizards of the Coast owns copyright, doesn't own copyright. Then they put certain copyrighted words in the SRD that we could never use before, beholder, Strahd, which makes it feel like we can now use it. But then a day later, they said, except for our copyrights, which led to the research that found out, oh, the SRD CC that they put it under maybe wasn't the one they meant to put it under. Did they do it on purpose, or was that an accident? So you could use Dark Elf, but you could use Dro, but you cannot use Drizzt or Mesoberenzan. Under the ORC, you can use, share, adapt, and build on the licensed material however you see fit, so as long as you give proper attribution in the form of a notice in your published work. Bam! Here's Wretched the role-playing system. Downstream, bam! Here's Wretched Vigilantes, which I co-wrote. I have to give notice that this is a product based upon Wretched role-playing. So any money, blah, blah, blah. By using material licensed under the ORC, you automatically agree to license out your game mechanics in your public work under the same terms. So bam, now if Wretched role-playing was under the ORC, they're basically saying anybody can now make product using the ORC. Which supposedly, I guess, is the point, right? If you develop your own reserve material, that is your exclusive property. So characters that are exclusive to me, like Kid Sidekick in Wretched Vigilantes, are mine. But, I haven't, copyrighted that. No one has the power to change or revoke the ORC license until it is. Once the licensed material is out there, it is out there forever, as long as the copyright lasts, which sort of contradicts the first license. Because once the copyright expires, I can do whatever I want with it. I.e. Mickey Mouse. The ORC is intended to work pretty much anywhere in the world. Really? I don't think so. The official versions will be registered with the U.S. Library of Congress through copyright registration to be used as a resource, but you will probably be able to find that many locations on the internet. The ORC is dedicated to the public domain and is free to use for anyone. How does the ORC license work? But first, bunnies. Oh, kitty. Oh, my God, that's your elephant. You're lemur. Kitty. Panda. Kitty. Kitty. Monkey. All right. The ORC license can be used by anyone to open their game up for other use. The ORC license is game system agnostic. If you put the ORC notice on your work, do we have an ORC notice yet that we can start putting? As well as your game mechanics, blah, 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 blah. All I have to do is put the ORC notice on your product and you're done. The ORC notice looks like this. When are we going to get a copy of this? All right. Here it is, right? But we don't have an official copy to, you need to give us something we can use. Because if I try and copy this and paste it onto a document, it doesn't work. Nope. Let's see. I'm going to open up a document here, paste it. And I mean, kind of works, but not really. So there's we need a better way to copy and paste it. Why did you create the ORC? We know why you created the ORC, January. Why is the license so complicated? To make sure it's simple and everybody gets to use it and nobody gets screwed over like Wizards of the Coast tried to screw us over in January. Who controls the ORC? The Library of Congress. Is there no organizations who enforces the ORC license? Library of Congress. Can the ORC license be updated? Can be revoked or amended? Nope. Not until the copyright expires in 7 years. Why did a law firm register the copyright in the ORC? Because Paizo wanted an independent board who would be control of it, who had no political sway in role playing. So they went with a law firm to file it and do all the legalese stuff. So the law firm is the one that made it sure it's public domain, and therefore, we can't stab it and mess with it, and people can't say, oh, it's woke because of Paizo's personal politics. So, yeah. Why not Creative Commons? Because Wizards of the Coast used the wrong Creative Commons, and they want it to be something else that cannot be revocable, and it's still possible for changes to be made to the Creative Commons and stuff like that. It's the CRC that they put 5e under is a share-alike license under which the initial licensor can limit the licensed material to the creative expression of game mechanics. Unfortunately, the share-alike provision requires the downstream community to share their entire work without the ability to designate any reserved material. So what is that saying? It's if you make something for 5e using the CC by SA 4.0, it becomes public domain that Wizards of the Coast owns. You can't copyright anything. Now, Wizards of the Coast released some of their content under the CC, which gives everyone the right to use the content of the SRD Wizards of the Coast designated. This was wonderful for the gaming community that 5e could confidentially be used forever, i.e. Tales from the Valiant. Unfortunately, if another publisher builds on the SRD, they are under no obligation to relicense their innovation to the community. This selectively kills the virtuous cycle that open source communities are built on. So what is that saying? It's saying if you make stuff for D&D and then Wizards of the Coast gobbles it up, then we can't change it and we don't have to relicense it and you can't use it. And they're saying, well, we want the ORC to be able to be used by anybody. And if you make something ORC, then somebody else could take it and run with it and do stuff with it that the CNC says you can't do. Puppies, panda, raccoons, panda, puppies, meerkat, puppy. Does that make sense? No. God. Can I pull stuff out of the ORC license once I put it in there? Nope. Once you release content of the ORC, you have given the world rights to use your licensed material and the product forever under the terms and conditions. So that means, once I put WRETCHED Vigilantes out there, if I put WRETCHED Vigilantes out under the ORC and then decide, no, I don't want that out there anymore. I'm done with it. I didn't like, I want to do something different with it. Somebody can still go, no, it's mine and I can do whatever I want with it now and I can make money off of it even if you don't. How long does the ORC license last? Forever? No, that's technically not true. Can I use the ORC license at a board game? Yep. How are translations treated under the ORC? You are free to translate licensed material under the ORC into another language. As a publisher creating a translated product from the ORC, you would use an ORC notice in your derivative work. Does the ORC license require the use of a system reference document? While some publishers will likely release an SRD under the ORC license to make the designation clear, the license itself does not require the use of a system reference document. So I could use the ORC on my board game, but I don't have to put a free SRD up for my board game because I'm assuming the one page of rules that comes with my board game are enough for you. On the other hand, if I make a role-playing game, I could put an SRD up, but I don't have to if I don't want to. If I'm just like, look, you're smart enough to figure this out on your own. You don't need me to put a free copy of the rules up online. You bought the product. You're reading the product. I assume you're smart enough to understand the product. So I don't have to put a free SRD up. Mind you, the free SRD online is, in the terms of role-playing history, relatively new. We did used to have to pay for these things. I primarily produce game content of a mechanical nature with very little content that could be considered reserved material. With so little to hold back as mine, it feels like my publishing strategy gets fewer protections under the ORC than others who have a higher percentage of non-mechanical material they could hold back for themselves. Is there any way I can designate more of my mechanical content as reserved material? No. No. Nope. So if you make a system with unique mechanics and you release it under the ORC, what they're saying is, well, all users of the ORC license agree to contribute all their mechanical content to downstream users. If the contribution does not fit your publishing strategy or you feel that doing so is too generous, it is likely that the ORC license is not the best option for that product. I made a game. With very unique rule systems. I want to be the only person that makes money off of that rule system for now. I don't want anybody else to make any money off of it. All right. You can make supplements using my rule system. You can come up with additions to my rule system, but the core MD6 rule system, the OG GM tabletop role-playing game system, that's mine. And that this completely unique mechanics that have never been seen before, and they catch on, and people are like, yeah, I love this game mechanics, and people are paying, tons of money for my product. I want to make sure that I get every single solitary dime off of that product. Then the ORC is not for you, because what the ORC is saying is once you make your rules available, anybody can use them and anybody can make money off of them, and they don't technically have to give you any of that money. They just have to acknowledge that you got your game. So if I make another supplement to WRETCHED Vigilantes, and I can say, yeah, sure, this is based upon WRETCHED Vigilantes that I wrote with Miguel, which is based upon the role-playing game WRETCHED, which Miguel and Sylvia wrote. But I don't have to give Miguel and Sylvia any of the money I make of this because I'm publishing on my own. So screw you. I have created an entire book of spells and want to include with the work a spell from another product under the ORC license. Does this require me to use other people's stuff without their permission? Yes, it does. Baby animal time. Meerkat. Oh, Pigu. Oh, golden Labrador. Monkey. Blah 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 blah. Wow, the question and answer is way more pages than previously. Anything mention of the censorship? You cannot use the ORC and the Creative Commons license. If you want to release something for D&D, you can't release it using the ORC. So you got to make two separate products. So if I want to make a module for D&D under the Creative Commons license, that's got to be one. But if I want to make the same module for Pathfinder 2nd Edition Remastered Core Volume 2 3.5, I got to use a completely separate thing. So two separate books, which we're seeing a lot of companies do. Can I use the content with my ORC license? Can I use D&D content with my ORC license content? Nope, no, you can't. Can I say which primary game my product is built on? You absolutely can and should. Can I get the license to build an RPG based upon the newest Hollywood blockbuster? Yeah, you can try. You're going to have to share money with them, but sure. Stat block protected. Yep. An example of an example. Okay, so character's name, details of their upbringing, and overall fashion set would not be considered licensed material because those details can be varied without altering the method of operation of the game, and are non-mechanical descriptive elements concerning a clearly expressed character. So I can make Spider-Man, but I can't use Spider-Man's lore. Spider-Man's lore is unique to Marvel, but I can make the character. No mention of the censorship thing, which I think was one of the two main concerns, wasn't it? All right, well, the link is attached. I've already wasted 20 minutes of your time going through this. What do we think of the third and final version of the ORC? What are the big questions? The morality clause, which isn't in there. So we have to go to the real ORC and see if it's in there, which I'm not going to make you guys sit through because that's like 20 pages. The upstreaming, downstreaming, viral marketing, I think, was the other big question. You know, what happens to my product once I put it out there under the domain, public domain? And it sounds like what they're saying is basically, if I make a rule set, the OGGM tabletop role-playing game system, and release the OGGM tabletop role-playing game system, and that system has very unique mechanics to me. That's at the top of the stream. The OGGM tabletop role-playing game with a very unique mechanic system that nobody else is using. That's the top of the stream, but I put it under the ORC, which means all the mechanics are now public domain. So down the stream, if you, DM Kurt, want to make a product using the OGGM tabletop role-playing game at the top of the stream, you can. And you have to give me credit that you got the idea from it, but you can make money off of it and not share it with me. Once it's in the public domain, it becomes Cthulhu. Anybody can use that system to do whatever they want with and make their own money off of it, and they don't have to give me a dime. I just have to reference that they got it from me. So it's Cthulhu. It's public domain. You don't have to give money to Lovecraft if you use Cthulhu. And in 2024, you don't have to give money to Disney if you use Mickey Mouse. But on the other hand, if in the OGGM tabletop role-playing game, I come up with a very specific character with a very specific lore to the OGGM tabletop role-playing game, i.e. Steve the Cat, well, you can use the Steve the Cat and have any stat block you want for Steve the Cat. But the lore of Steve the Cat is specific to me. So we go back to the question that I asked the other day. Can I make Spider-Man in WRETCHED Vigilantes? I can't use the Spider-Man lore because that is copyright Marvel. I can't use the Drizzt lore because that is copyright Wizards. But I can make a character with all the same power, skills, and abilities as Spider-Man. But I can make a dark-skinned elf with all the same power, skills, and abilities as Drizzt. I just can't use any of the copyrighted, unique, reserved lore of Spider-Man. So if in the OGGM tabletop role-playing game at the top of the stream, I have a very unique character with a very unique origin, you can recreate that character in your game that you made using my system, but you cannot use that lore. You can recreate that character in any other game, but you cannot use that lore. So you can make Spider-Man, you just can't call him Spider-Man. So yeah, once you put it out there, it becomes public domain and people can do with it whatever they want and they don't have to give you money. You're just hoping that the word of mouth of my game is based upon this game will upstream back to you, and you will eventually make some profit off of the fact that downstream people use your product without your permission. And they don't have to ask you. That's the other thing. You don't have to ask your permission. They can give you notice, but I don't have to ask you permission to use WRETCHED anymore if WRETCHED was put under the ORC, which I don't think Miguel and Sylvia are going to do. So I think that explains it. Hopefully, maybe, I don't know. Generally, yeah, I think I got it. Right. All right, that's it. If you have any other questions about the ORC, let me know. I'm about to be done for the day because the tree trimmers are coming in a few minutes, and it's going to be very loud around here momentarily. So this is it for a while today, I believe, but it doesn't look like we have any other tabletop role-playing game news to talk about. So, yeah. If you appreciate this content, let me know. If you have any other questions about the ORC, let me know. The link is down below if you want to look at it yourself. Till next time, I'm the OG GM. See ya!